I guess I'm recently getting invited more onto crypto channels to debate Bitcoin versus crypto and the idea of why I'm a Bitcoin maxi and why I choose to be a Bitcoin maxi. And what you're about to see is one of those debates. It's a segment from my interview with Rice Crypto, and it is a debate on why I think that Gary Gensler is the MVP of the Bitcoin space for 2023. And I think this is quite interesting because, firstly, you guys have never seen this segment before, unless you follow Rice too. But there is a clear separation going on between crypto and Bitcoin here, and a lot of the crypto people are butthurt about it because they realize that their parachute of security, their balloon of security, which was Bitcoin, is being taken away from them. So now they're all acting like we've got to work together and we've got to actually create and solve problems together and come together. We don't need to come together. There is a problem that's being solved by Bitcoin, and that's what we're going to talk about in this interview, in this segment here, and our debate around what happened with Binance, FTX, and obviously all of these other coins, and why I choose to focus on Bitcoin and Bitcoin alone. So enjoy this segment, and please subscribe to the channel. We need to spank this YouTube algorithm as hard as we can to get Bitcoin content out in front of people, to make sure that people don't go through the last, the hell that they went through in the last cycle of crypto and getting suckered into bullshit in this next cycle. So please subscribe, and remember, no matter what you do, there are still only ever 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy. Let's get to this clip right now and let me know how you think I did as a Bitcoin maxi debating crypto. How do I say this without sounding insensitive?
Be insensitive, man.
I think Gary Gensler is the MVP of Bitcoin for this cycle. Everyone's going to hate me saying that, right? But let's think about it from an institutional perspective. And again, I will talk as a Bitcoin maxi, right? So I'm going to say that.
Right. You are a Bitcoin maxi. What are you talking about?
So I'm saying I'm going to talk as one rather than pretending to be friendly, right? At the end of the day, I wasn't expecting FTX and Binance to both be served the sentence from hell in one cycle so swiftly and smoothly, right? That's what's important, because you want stability in the market, right? He's taken out, FTX is gone. Binance has basically been slapped so hard into position that they won't be screwing around anytime soon.
Well, no, and their new CEO is a World Economic Forum member as well.
Right? I said I think that the next CEO will end up being American or European or something like that. And it turns out the guy is Singaporean, which is basically as American as you can get in Asia. Right? So Singapore's banking system is intricately tied with the American banking system. And yeah, this is great. This is all great, because the next step is really battening down the hatches on all these securitized tokens, because that's what they are. They're securities, trading illegally as securities. So taking out FTX was job number 1. Let me just mute this up. I don't know whether you can hear this notifications going on.
I could.
Taking out FTX, but it's all good. Taking out FTX was job number 1. Well done for Gary Gensler and the US Regulatory Department. And job number 2, slapping Binance into position and showing CZ what's actually possible if he doesn't step down and start controlling himself. Excellent. This is what we want. I can afford to wait 5 years for an ETF. I can afford to accumulate Bitcoin for another 5 years. I have no problem with that. What I want is markets to be performing how markets should be performing, so that when it becomes an institutional asset, it can take off like a rocket ship. And Gary Gensler has been the MVP of Bitcoin, whether Bitcoiners like it or they don't.
I mean, he's been a cheerleader for Bitcoin. It's the other cryptocurrencies that he's putting into question, which kind of in a sense you are as well. But I will say on my end, I like and want to see non-KYC exchanges.
Sure you do.
I like that level of privacy. So I really did appreciate what KuCoin and Binance were doing at some point. And obviously this came to bite CZ in the ass.
Yep.
I think CZ kind of took a bullet in a way for the whole entire industry. He still remains, he still keeps his ownership shares. I think that he could, in theory, be the CEO of the company again after like so much time, which is like something like 4 or 5 years, if I
Yeah,
remember.
after they get in there and gut the company to pieces so that all of these crypto, all the crypto can go back into the hellhole that it came from, he can come back and be CEO of its Bitcoin exchange.
You're going to run like a Bitcoin only exchange, just trading just Bitcoin against
What
itself.
listen, I tweeted this like 9, maybe even 12 months ago. I said that's exactly what Coinbase will do. Coinbase will pivot to a Bitcoin only focused exchange with a few tokens that will be approved by the SEC. And that's what they'll focus on, because the real money is in providing the exchange services and the custody services for the ETFs. And what have they done? They've done exactly that. That's a smart move.
Well, it's also taking out the competition, because I mean, I believe that if the regulatory powers are going to want to have the people that are in the club joining, running these exchanges, they don't
Of
want
course.
these crypto rebels doing it. So it's like, because even now going after Kraken a second time after they've already been in a sense had an issue with the SEC is showing what. And to me, Jesse Powell and Kraken, they operate as well as any institution should operate in the cryptocurrency space. They do require KYC, AML, and they follow all the procedures. So it's, I want to be able to see people that have helped build this space and create it to be what it is, because we wouldn't be where we are without Binance and FTX and all these other exchanges, regardless of what happened in the aftermath. We wouldn't be where we are. And I feel we still need to have people from our industry representing this ethos, because TradFi has a completely different ethos. And I think that freedom of expression still needs to remain in cryptocurrency, regardless of TradFi's involvement. That's just my personal opinion.
I get it. And I empathize with it too. It's just not how the world works. Now, we
Well,
can
yeah, but the
say
world
we're
needs to
going to
change.
change. Right. We can say that's the argument. We need to change the world. You're fighting against a $900 trillion empire, right? That's just not how the world works, right? And people hate me for it a lot when I say that, but it's the truth. At the end of the day, this is how the world works. Let me ask you a question. Where was Binance located?
They weren't.
No one fucking knows, right? You
They
can't
weren't.
operate.
That's the beauty of it.
Right, but you can say that's the beauty of it, but you can't have, one of the most important assets known to humanity ever being influenced and manipulated by an entity that you don't know. Like, where do you talk
I
to
know,
those
but I
people?
wouldn't say influenced and manipulated, though. I mean, like they were run. So the good thing that we can definitely say in here to distinguish the difference in between the FTX and Binance situation is Binance was not commingling funds, taking user funds and doing things they weren't supposed to do with it. Binance was in a very good position, and it seemed like they were operating, in a sense, very comparable to a Kraken, because they implemented the KYC stuff several years ago. So it wasn't as if they were just allowing everybody to use
So
the
they just got
platform.
taken down for nothing.
It wasn't nothing. They've been under investigation for years. That's why they got ultimately, I think it was violating the Banking Secrecy Act, which also had to do with violating the KYC AML requirements, the Know Your Customer anti-money laundering requirements, because they were not requiring KYC up to a certain point. So yeah, they could go back and under investigation, build up charges. But in the meantime, they had done everything to be compliant. So after in between the investigation and a conviction, there were things that Binance was doing to show that they were trying to play ball. Aside
Yep.
from like a physical location, which I get your concern on that.
Just tell me who I need to talk to. Who do I? You're a multi-billion-dollar organization. Where shall I meet you for a meeting? Where is your headquarters? You can't answer the fucking question. So
Right.
that's a
Well,
problem.
but I mean, just like even Coinbase, man, here in the United States, they don't have a customer service line that you can call. And it's not like you can just go to the Coinbase office and show up and think you're going to get help on your account.
It's not about that. I'm talking about from a regulatory perspective, because if you want this industry to grow, there is going to be regulation coming. And when a regulator doesn't know who to talk to, where to talk to them, which jurisdictions laws to follow, which due process to follow, it's not going to work. That's why FTX obviously was doing a lot of illegal things, and I think in reality, I think Sam Bankman-Fried took the bullet for the entire industry, for the crypto space, and I think CZ realized that this is the end of it, and then went over to them and said, "Hey, let's do a deal." And
I mean, it's quite possible.
Gary Gensler has overseen the destruction of the two largest hellholes of, let's say, crypto speculation that was existing. And I know everyone likes to say that
if you're just talking about offering a place to trade altcoins, other cryptocurrencies, or shit coins, then you know, I mean, I'm not a maximalist. I told you I'm a minimalist, and I definitely feel like there needs to be that offering of choice to be able to get these coins. So if you're referring to it in that manner, I disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically saying that they offered the ability for people to legitimize their shit coins, which are securitized offerings of share ownership in projects that have built nothing and are working to build something one day. The only value that people were pursuing is speculation, and therefore, if they were pursuing a value gain in their investment, that is considered a security, and it should be licensed. Now, we can argue whether securities laws are relevant or not, but that's how the system works. You can't just say, "Oh, we're just going to ignore it," right? If you want to change,
and I know that there's a lot of projects that are definitely securities, the way that they are offering all those things. So I definitely agree with you on that. It doesn't include 100% of the industry. Now, with that being said, I'm just curious, since we talked last, and you mentioned that having a Bitcoin centric exchange with other coins. Well, if you, let's say you had a chance to have this exchange, that you got to pick the coins based off the research that you've done, what other coins in the cryptocurrency sphere would you include on this exchange that you find are relevant, have use case, etc.?
At the end of the day, if a coin can go through a securities filing and be accepted as a tradable security, I'm a capitalist, right? I think anyone should have the right to speculate based on the laws of the capital markets on whatever they want to speculate with. Now, do I think that you should be able to do that outside of securities laws? No, I don't, because I think securities laws are there for a reason. Some people hate them, some people love them sometimes, some people hate them sometimes. But I'm not here to debate that. What I'm saying is, if a shitcoin can go through the securities process, the filing process, and be accepted as a security, it should be able to be allowed to trade. I'm not the one to judge whether it has value or not. All I wanted to do is go through the security registration process, which none of them will do, right? None of them do it for some reason. And then once they do that, then I'll trade it on this imaginary
Well,
exchange.
there's okay, so EOS, they had, I think it was in 2018 or 2019, the SEC hit them for securities violations. They paid a fine. I think it was like 4 billion. No, it was like 4 million. I can't remember it couldn't be billion, but it was like something like $4 million. They would technically be not a security because of what they've done. Stacks, which I told you before, is a kind of a second layer for Bitcoin. They've gone through the process with the SEC. There's plenty of projects that have gone through the process with the SEC, and then there's plenty of projects that have not had any sort of direct action. And then another thing too that I have a problem with is that the SEC does, I'm not sure what the correct term for this is. It's, I guess it's enforcement by regulation, or a regulation by enforcement, which would be saying to exchanges that coin X, Y, and Z are securities, but not going to the project X, Y, and Z and having them go through a process to say that they're a security, to then say that the exchanges are offering securities.
Because the SEC's job is to regulate the markets. The offering, the company's job is to regulate, is to offer itself up as a security. So the company, whether it's EOS or whatever other 3-letter bullshit you want to come out with, if they oh, well, that's different.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 3-letter bullshit. I'm just being real.
Bitcoin and crypto are two very different things now. Now, Bitcoin might have started off as a cryptocurrency, but thanks to everyone in the crypto space, we now have to separate ourselves. It's like, you know, you got that retarded cousin, and then you show up and you're trying to talk to a bunch of women.
So everything
Like,
aside from
even
Bitcoin is a
though we're
retarded
blood,
cousin.
even though we're blood related, I don't know who this person is. It's basically like that. That's that type of situation.
Well, I'm proud to be a retarded cousin, Mr. HODL.
But I'm being facetious, but you know what
I know,
mean.
and I'm being funny too. I'm enjoying the entertainment.
Like at the end of the day, we're at a new paradigm. This is about to be an ETF asset. It's about to be an institutionalized asset. There's a bunch of people in crypto, $1,000 net worthers, $10 a month DCA gain, happy hippies, whichever one you fit into, that are upset about that. And I completely understand and empathize, because it doesn't run with the ethos of what you think Bitcoin should be. But that's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin. It's a monetary network. It is not a your opinion network. Therefore, if dollars go into it, and dollars want to go into it, those dollars are relevant no matter where those dollars come from. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, we have a TradFi system that is designed to protect against dollars coming in to something like an institutional asset like Bitcoin that comes from designated bad actors, right? So if they designate certain groups as terrorist groups, they don't want that funding coming into the particular assets that they're now deeming as institutional assets. The system is set up to protect against that. And the only way you can do that is by having onshore US institutions. That's why they were having this debate about cash creates and in kind, right? Because you got to know where the hell this Bitcoin is coming from if you don't want Bitcoin randomly that's been associated with terrorist financing, for example. Now, you and I might agree that one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin no matter what.
It's not. No, I've had this argument. There's no fungibility in Bitcoin. My Bitcoin is not the same as your Bitcoin. They have different histories, and that is something that's kind of dangerous, because let's say you accumulate a coin, part of a coin that was used in a transaction that was flagged because there's chain analysis, government's been involved in taking down entities using cryptocurrency. So I'm sure that in some sort of back end of some history thing, they have a way of saying these addresses have been involved with nefarious activities. Now, you not being the person that was involved with that nefarious activity, we may get to a point where the exchanges don't even allow you, especially if we get like TradFi exchanges where they don't even allow you to transfer these Bitcoin in, or if you do transfer it in, it's just kind of stuck because they're like, it's dirty money. And that's something that that's where like shufflers, mixers in the cryptocurrency space, which Tornado Cash was a mixer service, was taken down because of the fact that they were allowing for people to add fungibility. Even Litecoin, and this can be something that could be done to Bitcoin, added a side layer with Mimblewimble, which was basically a way to add more fungibility so that you can have that aspect of
Say that name again. What was that service?
Mimblewimble, and I know that comes from
which institutional
Harry Potter movie.
Yeah, which institutional person, which one of our parents?
Well, just think about the word Bitcoin
and use Mimble. Like, this is why like they kept telling us, oh, us crypto bros understand exactly how TradFi works, and we are the actual adults in the room, even though we're rolling around in t-shirts and sandals. And then you realize they weren't the adults in the room, because they're, guess what, kids. So
I'm just a big advocate for privacy. I'm a big advocate for privacy.
By the way, I just want to let you know, I just sent a message to delay my next call, so I got another 15 minutes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was about to wrap it up, man.
Yeah. So I'm enjoying this conversation. Like, now we're going to get to the room.
I really want people to know, like, obviously we don't see eye to eye on everything. I think when it comes to the important things, we agree. But I love having conversations with you, and I like to be able to challenge what I think I know and try to learn from people I disagree with on various topics.
Yeah, that's what conversation is about, and that's been lost nowadays. It's like people disagree on an idea and suddenly can't have a drink together or smoke a cigar together. It's a bit stupid.
No, I would definitely smoke with you, not a cigar, but I'd smoke my cannabis while you smoke your cigar.
There we go.
Sounds like a party. I was trying to get you to basically admit there were some other cryptocurrencies that you.
I know what you were trying to do. You don't think I know?
And you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't list not one coin.
because I don't listen. I'm not.
Well, BlackRock and other TradFi entities are trying to get or are applying for an Ethereum spot ETF as well.
As they should. As they should. Yeah, I think they should. I think that BlackRock's job as an asset manager is to provide inroads for people who want to get into assets. So if they feel like there's value in an Ethereum ETF and they're willing to carry the cost of running that, I think they absolutely should. Unfortunately, the Ethereum futures ETF came out and did about 10% of the fucking volume as Bitcoin. So that pretty much shows that institutions don't give a damn about Ethereum yet. And I don't think they ever will. There's people in your space that think Ethereum is going to take off at some point in this cycle. Personally, I just don't. And that's okay. We can all, it's at the end of the day, it's our job as capital allocators of our time, energy, and money to decide where we want to put our money. And for me, Bitcoin has actually solved the problem. It solved a problem of money, right? It solved the problem of store of value. Now, layer 2, layer 3 solutions are trying to solve the problem of currency, and that's okay. But right now, we've solved the problem of money, and we've solved the problem of store of value. That's where I want to put my value, because that's what I think is already done and it's solved, and I want to buy the thing that's working. I do not want to put my money into something that is promising me and needs a new gimmick every 4 years to stay relevant. I don't want to do that.
I know what you're saying. Now, as far, I mean, I would actually put Ethereum in a totally different category. When you look at the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, and I'm not a huge Ether person necessarily. I'm just putting things in perspective. The largest conglomerate in the world to ever take place is the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance. You can look at the companies that have been involved with building on Ethereum and utilizing the ecosystem. I don't think it's going anywhere until another competitor truly surpasses Ethereum and what it can do. It's going to remain where it's at in its position, because there is a need for this kind of Web3 new internet using these technologies.
Why is there a need for that?
Because a lot of the online censorship that we're dealing with. I mean, that's one thing I was telling you before we started recording, was all the censorship that I'm dealing with. Yeah. So having a more distributed, decentralized internet would allow for, and platforms would allow for entities to be able to, for it to be a fair playing field for everybody, where I don't feel like that's where we're at now. There's a lot of things that I feel like blockchain technology can come in and disrupt. The idea of NFTs with the ticket industry. And you can do these things on Bitcoin in theory, using things like ordinals and stamps. There's a lot of different things that you can utilize with these technologies. Yeah. Creative destruction it can use to bring, and even with music artists and utilizing smart contracts with these technologies, you can have it set up where you have a streaming service or a service where like you can buy MP3s, and once you make the purchase, money is evenly distributed automatically right away to artists, whereas someone like Spotify is taking advantage of the artists, and the artists get paid little to nothing.
Well, hold on a second.
So there's a lot of different things where, and all these things can't be done on Bitcoin.
Hold on, let's talk about, someone like Spotify taking advantage of an artist. That's a bunch of bullshit, right? Because at the end of the day, the artist is signing over their rights. From what I understand, I've never been in the music industry, but I'm smart enough to understand how contract works. Spotify doesn't just go and steal someone's music and put it on the platform.
Well, I know they're not stealing it. I know people are signing contracts, but there's no other alternative, is what I'm saying. There's no other viable alternative that has the kind of traction. So the artists end up dealing with the platform's demands.
What about someone like Ryan Leslie, who went off on his own and made more net money, with a much smaller audience, albeit because Spotify would give you a bigger audience. He went off and made more net money on his own than he would have having an audience that was 5 times bigger. Some people just want the audience. They just want the lights. Right? So they want the light, so it's worth it.
But I can definitely still say that these technologies can be used to disrupt a lot of things within the world that we have going on now. I mean, we can get into very specifics and all these things, but there are use cases taking your titles, your registrations, your licensing, and all these things and putting them in a digital format, such as an NFT or something to that effect. even the idea of being able to do blockchain on-chain voting and have it be transparent,
Okay.
and have it be anti-fraudulent.
Here's what I would say. I think you're right. I think that there could be value in disrupting a lot of these current systems that we have by utilizing something that is quicker and faster. Unfortunately, to this day, an Oracle database or a Google database is still faster and more efficient at managing something than any of these cryptos that they're asking grandmas and aunties that don't understand what it is.
I agree with you on that.
Right. So here's my point. Let's fix
and there's a
the
time
money
and a place for centralization and decentralization. Sorry for the interruption.
Let's fix the money first. Let's fix the Bitcoin first. And then if you've got any of these other ideas, build it on top of a good money system. Right? That's all I'm saying. I have no problem with someone trying to fix something. If you think there's a problem, try and fix it. Hopefully you attract some capital, and that venture capital can turn into something powerful and you get really rich off of it because you actually solved the problem. The problem with all these NFT people and all these crypto people is that the projects that they're launching only solve one problem, and that's the addiction to speculation. That's the only problem it's solving at this point. So build it on top of a sound money system, which is Bitcoin, and then we can see whether it, in the grand scheme of the competitive world that we live in, whether it's going to attract the value that you say it is or not.
I would love to see that happen. Unfortunately, I think by building on Bitcoin and using some of these technologies on Bitcoin is going to end up congesting a network like we saw with ordinals, and that's going to have a problem because of scaling. So, I mean,
that's where the layer 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever comes in, right? Like if we all had to trade and exchange money in SDRs, right, we would have a problem. So I use pounds, you use dollars, etc., and it funnels up into the base layer currency.
Can you even? I don't even think we can own SDRs.
Can't.
Yeah, I didn't think we could.
At some point, maybe it will happen that all of our currencies are built on the blockchain rails, and there's no way that you can actually own the Bitcoin, but you can use the Bitcoin-backed currency on its rails.
That's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. I mean, with the ordinals and things like that, they're able to put Satoshis inside, inscribe on the individual Satoshis, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're definitely obviously really early in these technologies. In case, you know, one of the interesting notes that I will bring to your attention in case you're unaware is Vitalik Buterin, one of the main creators, founder of Ethereum. He used to
write. Is he still wearing dresses?
I don't believe so. And if he was, it might have just been for a picture.
Has he still got his pink unicorn bag?
He loves unicorns. The entire Ethereum people love their freaking unicorns. But some of the Bitcoiners have some pretty interesting fetishes.
Oh, we got wizards. No, we got wizards.
Wizards, orange coins. There's a plethora of things. But what I was getting at was he used to write for Bitcoin magazine years ago before starting Ethereum. His father got him introduced into cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and such. And he proposed the ideas of smart contracts and several things to the Bitcoin core developers. And ultimately that proposal was turned down, not to do any building of such. And that's where we've seen Ethereum happen. So it is very well possible in an alternate reality on a different earth that in the multiverse that we could see Bitcoin accepting that proposal and allowing for smart contracts and such to have been built on Bitcoin from an earlier point and never see things like Ethereum or ICOs or any of these other things.
Listen, I think that is what should happen. And I think that that's what should happen next, right? The way I think about it is Bitcoin community has been focused on one thing, which is how do I fix the store of value problem? Now that we have achieved that point where we have fixed the store of value problem, now we can start looking at other things, layer 2, layer 3 solutions without sacrificing the core of the network. And that's how the world should be built. The world shouldn't be built by trying to put things in the sky when you don't have a stable earth because you have nowhere to land. So you need somewhere to land first. And that's what Bitcoin is, building a stable foundation of what money is. And now you can start allowing people and inviting people and encouraging people to have all of these new things that they want to build on it. And that's great. I'm not one of these Bitcoin maxis that says all of that's bullshit. I'm not judging. If you really think that a piece of art on the blockchain is worth what you think it is, cool. How about we fix the money first, and then you speculate on top of a sound money system? No worries, you go for it. I'm not going to do it.
Well, yeah, I'm not a art, like when it comes to the JPEG NFT element, I'm not a fan of it. And one of the things that I was glad to see was the creation of ordinals and stamps on Bitcoin because of the permanence, or the fact that these things are actually on the blockchain. Because let's say, for example, like Ethereum and a lot of these other blockchains that have NFTs, the actual NFT, the artwork, any of this stuff is not stored on chain. It's kind of a proof of cloud, proof of IPFS, proof of storage.
Yeah, you basically own a receipt.
Right. Whereas
it's like me buying this iPhone, right? And then sending you the receipt of it, and you paying me $1,500 or whatever for the receipt, even though I keep the iPhone. Sounds super smart.
That would be a shitty deal for me, but a great deal for you.
Right. It sounds exactly like what a bunch of people wearing dresses and wearing unicorn hats and shit like that would come up with.
We got to go to an Ethereum conference together one day, my friend.
I don't think they'd like me over there.
ETH Denver. I think you'll end up turning into a unicorn by the time it's all over.
Have they got to the point of believing that Ethereum can change the weather as well yet?
I don't believe so. I don't think that I haven't seen a weather changing cryptocurrency project yet. But now you may be spawning like a whole thing, man. And you're gonna be to blame for it, my friend.
We're gonna fix climate change by making a cryptocurrency.
Now we could fix climate change by using these alternative sources of energy that like miners are doing.
Yep.
Like when we talked about the
you mean like Bitcoin miners?
The ESG scoring of Bitcoin. Yeah, because there's been a lot of
what did I tell you? What did I tell you in our first call? I told you
Bitcoin said there was going to be a probe. I know, and I agreed with you that that it was going to happen.
Yep.
That was one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on the show, is because of your perspective when it came to the spot Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah, I still think that we're going to see. I saw something I think it was a San Francisco or somewhere in small newspaper talking about Bitcoin being good for the environment. Now that's come within like, I guess now we would put before the halving, I think we will see a pro Bitcoin mining major news publication like New York Times, Washington Post, someone like that. They're going to say Bitcoin mining is good for the environment. As I said, it would be like 6 to 9 months when BlackRock filed for the ETF. But I think before the halving now.
Well, then all they're going to be doing is just reporting the truth, which is what they were trying to lie about in the beginning when you were talking about the energy consumption argument of what Bitcoin was using. Because anything that can take excess gas that cannot, or excess energy that can't be or hasn't been used for anything else other than just spitting it into our atmosphere, where you can use that energy to then turn
energy. Yep.
Yeah, that's like the flare gases and stuff. That's powerful.
Absolutely.
That's powerful. To me, that's one of the most beautiful things that we can do to the planet, is start looking at these alternate power sources. Plus, if you're thinking about trying to mine as cheaply as possible, you want to use the most effective ways of doing it. And sometimes the antiquated AC/DC method just doesn't work.
Right.
So
there's a lot of good stuff coming now. We had to take care of FTX first. We had to take care of Binance first. Now that we've taken care of those, we can now start telling the truth about Bitcoin. And now that BlackRock's had its fund running for almost 2 years, its private trust running for almost 2 years, we can start telling people the truth about Bitcoin.
I agree with you about FTX. I disagree with you about having to take out Binance. But again, we can disagree and still smoke our stuff together.
Exactly.
I appreciate your time, my friend. I definitely